decided to do my research proposal on false memories with combat veterans. Basically, do combat deployments increase the number of false memories in veterans? False memory is basically remembering an event that didn't happen or remember it differently than it actually happened. The question I had basically was, how does false memory differ from episodic memory? Because like Christmas as a child, the way you remember it is different from the way your siblings remember that Christmas. So I'm still looking into that. But episodic memory is basically a subdivision of declarative memory that stores memory for personal events or episodes. Two or more veterans that were on the same mission during a traumatic event may have different ideas of what actually happened during that event. My introduction, the purpose of the study was to determine how many memories were factual during the deployment and how many of them were actually false memories that might have been made worse due to the group therapy, listening to other veterans talk about their stories. The screening for my participants, each participant was screened for PTSD and TBI prior to their first deployment using the PTSD-5, which is the primary care PTSD for the DSM-5. And they also used the TSQ, which is the trauma screening questionnaire, to make sure that they didn't have TBI or like PTSD. Each of the participants were also rescreened after they returned from each successive deployment. They had to have been enlisted in a branch of the U.S. military and had to have been over the age of 18. And the males and females were randomly selected. The method I used, the participants, they were all combat veterans serving at least one tour in the OIF war, and then combat veterans serving 2 or more tours in the OIF war. All of them volunteered their time to participate in my study. I had 1,500 participants, approximately half of them were males, half of them were females. The procedure I used, all of the participants received 2 blank journals. One of them was given to them before their deployment for them to write down each of their experiences at night if they were in the middle of combat or an attack, something like that. And then after they were returned home, they were given another blank journal to rewrite their memories after their group therapy session. They all had individual therapy, 12 weeks, once a week, and group therapy. Procedure, participants were assigned a random number. I didn't use any kind of identifying information. That way, in case anybody came across it, they wouldn't know whose was whose. Each participant was given a journal with a locking mechanism. Their assigned number and the letter A for the first one was written on the inside front cover. They were also given an ammo box with a locking mechanism while they were in deployment. That way they would feel a little bit more comfortable writing down their thoughts and not worrying about someone getting into it. They were informed that I was doing a study on information processing. They were instructed to write in their journals nightly after any combat attacks, anything that they saw, anything that happened, any other veterans that were there, how they felt. All of them were deployed for the same 18-month tour in the same area, same country overseas. After deployment, each journal was collected and locked in an undisclosed location. No one knew where it was except for me. Each participant attended weekly individual therapy for 12 weeks with a licensed psychological therapist. And participants attended a group therapy session after they finished their 12-week individual therapy with all of the participants in attendance. Upon exiting the group therapy, each participant was given their second blank journal with the locking mechanism. They were asked to write what they remembered from the deployment over the following week. Each participant attended a final group therapy session where they submitted their journals and were debriefed regarding the true nature of this study. I explained to them that it was about false memory. Each journal was then paired by number and whether it was the first journal or the second journal, A or B. Journal A was read first, followed by Journal B. Any differences or additions to the Journal B were noted. The measures, the SPSS statistical calculation I used I went in, I clicked on Analyze, Compare Means, and ran a paired sample t-test. The number of tours was the variable 1 and journal 1 false memories. And then I ran it again with number of tours and journal 2 false memories. My question was basically what I wanted to know, did multiple deployments add to false memories? Basically scenes from successive or multiple deployments, did they add to or cause more false memories? It shows my paired sample statistics here. The pairs, there's the tours, there's the journals. It's kind of hard to read on this. Paired sample correlations and my paired sample t-test. The significance down here, if you can read it, is actually 0.054. Go ahead and switch. So according to my data, which was false, I basically input any numbers that I felt like putting in. There's a significant difference between the number of deployments and the number of false memories reported. My P is less than 0.05, it's 0.054. It's actually equal to it, so there's a significance. The data is completely fictional. Whatever popped into my head is the number that I entered into SPSS. According to the numbers, there's a significance between the number of deployments to combat zones and an increased number in false memories. Basically, the more deployments they had, the more risk there was for false memories to be added in. There may very well be a link here, but this experiment would take too long to actually complete it during my senior seminar in spring of next year. It would also be hard to locate 1,500 plus newly deploying veterans that would be willing to participate in my study. Questions for possible future research. Did diagnosis of PTSD or TBI after deployment affect the number of false memories? I think there might be a correlation maybe with traumatic brain injury that might add more false memories, or maybe not quite exactly the way it happened. Also, did marital status have any effect on the number of false memories? And was there a significant difference in false memories between individual therapy and group therapy? And these are my references. Are there any questions? Although this is false data. Are there any questions?